Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Homeschool Minnesota. This podcast is an outreach of Minnesota Association of Christian Home Educators, MACHE. We're so glad you joined us today. My name is Dayle Annand. Sometimes I was telling our guest today, Amanda Dykes, sometimes you find something that you don't want to let go because it's an answer to prayer or it's just a good memory or something like that. And I want to show you what we're going to be talking about today. This book right here, it's called A Pocketful of Wonder. And I got to tell you guys, it is such a cute book and I love it so much. And I'm like, usually I get books and I like to pass them on to people. This one, y'all aren't getting it. You're gonna have to order your own because I'm keeping this one. This is a great little book and it's practical and useful and I just love it. It's such a sweet little book and it's full of wonderful things that you can do with your kids outside. I just want to welcome Amanda Dykes, who wrote this book. Welcome, Amanda.
Thank you so much for having me. What a wonderful welcome that was.
Well, thank you. I just really do love it. As I was going through it, I'm like, I could just feel peace coming over me. Like, what a great idea.
I love that. And that really was the heart behind it, just that it would be saturated with joy and peace
Yeah.
and these things that can be kind of difficult to come by in our world. So it means a lot that that's what you felt. Thank
Yeah.
you.
It was just great and it brought me back so many good memories of our kids, just tripping through the woods and just exploring and enjoying things. So, I just want to start off, just tell us a little bit about yourself, Amanda. Who are you and what do you do?
Sure, yes. So, the biggest thing that's relevant to this book is that I'm a mom of four, and they range from ages youngest just turned 5 all the way up to 16.
Okay.
So that takes us, as you all know, as parents too, it takes us on adventures every day, and we never know what a day will hold. And I have come to love that so much, just the gift of the unexpected. And I think one of the biggest things that my kids have taught me and continue to teach me is just that spirit of wonder and what an intrinsically woven in gift that is in our world that God has placed here for us. And so that really has guided even my career in a lot of ways. So I'm an author. This is my first nonfiction book. I in the past traditionally have written fiction. I write novels, historical fiction
Okay.
for adults, teenagers, anyone can read it, but it's the target age is adults. And so this one was just a special gift in that it was very different and it was something that I could do with my kids instead of apart from my kids. I would pile them into the car and we would just hit the trails and see what wonder awoke in us and what ideas came. And I would just jot ideas down as we went. And so, I'm already talking about the book. You asked me about myself, but
That's okay.
they kind of interlock pretty early on in the story there. I'm a writer, I'm a mom. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Not much more to the story, but it's a joy to get to do this kind of work.
Well, I'm super excited. This book is a field guide full of 50 low prep or no prep activities, all about the wonders of God's creation and things you can do with your kids outside. And if you guys know, I love just getting kids outside. I just feel like get them away from screens, get them out of the house. That's their best. That's where kids shine. They shine outdoors, even if they're fighting you on it because they're not used to it so much. That
Yeah.
doesn't matter. Just consistently get them outside, and that's where kids shine. But what inspired you to write this field guide for kids?
So many things, and a lot of it does come back to what you just mentioned about helping provide a tool that could get kids away from screens. Screens, as we know, are a nuanced topic, sometimes a problematic topic. They can be great tools for us, but then they tip the scale where they become a dominating force in our lives. And it can be really overwhelming for parents, for teachers, for anyone who interacts with kids to find a way, a bridge from that world into the outdoors, this natural world that speaks so loudly to their hearts. And so that's kind of a passion point of mine. And so the idea of getting to write something that could be a very easy, non-intimidating resource for families, for teachers, for caregivers was such a joy to me. And then what happened was, this was when my 2 youngest were much younger. They were babies. They were still stroller age. I would take them on walks every day and we were doing all the kids stuff, stopping to watch the tractors or the bugs or whatever caught their attention. And whatever we were looking at, something funny started to happen. These little playful snippets of language would land in my brain and I would say them out loud just for the joy of my kids. And a lot of times they would rhyme and it was just fun. It was like spontaneous poetry. And at some point I thought maybe I should write this down. And of course that voice of doubt that likes to battle us on our thoughts and ideas would pipe up. Why would you write that down? What purpose could that serve? It's just a rhyme. It's just whatever. then I thought, maybe it's not. Maybe it could be something I could pass along. Maybe for whatever reason my brain is wired this way, I could jot these down and turn them into something that could be a gift to others as well. So that you mentioned it's a field guide, it's divided topically. The hope is that this is super easy, and that if it's raining outside, you can just open up to the rain section and there's a couple of pages of things you can do with your kids ready to go.
Yeah.
That playful poem, that fun hands-on activity. And so it all started just with walks with my kids and capturing those little snippets of language and seeing where it went after that.
I love that. And just so you guys know how it's kind of laid out is it always begins with a poem. And they're fun poems. Some of them are just beautiful. Some of them are just cute and fun. And then sometimes there's even a description of like, this is iambic pentameter, or there's, so for those homeschool moms who are really concerned about like language arts, there you go. You can weave it right in there. And then there's always like just an observation, like let's, you know, if we're going to do clouds, we're going to go out and look at the clouds. And there's this observation of like, what do you see? And even in the back of the book, Amanda gives you guys like language that you can use to not lead your kids, but to guide your kids. I mean, so you're not saying to them, what colors are you seeing or what shapes are you seeing? You can just different ways to ask questions to get kids to talk, but that they're the ones doing the observing, which is so great and so important, especially as they get into later sciences. And I think about like, you know, with this, then after that, there's like an activity, a hands-on activity. 99% of them are things that you just have around the house or you find out in nature. They're not complicated. They're not hard. And then there's always like a kind of music that goes along with it. I love that. And then there's always just a little prayer or some scripture, things that go along with what it is that you're doing. I'm just in love with it. It's so cute. It's
Oh,
so
thank
much
you.
fun. Yeah.
It was a joy to write. It was the most fun thing I've ever gotten to take part in writing. So I'm glad that
Yeah.
you sensed that on your end too.
Yeah. And it's something you can take with you because it's small. It's not a big
Mhm.
book. It's very lightweight. It's very easy. It's hardcover, so you don't have to worry about it like getting, if it gets a little wet, it's not going to get
Mhm.
destroyed. And I think this is a book that was meant to be kind of banged around a bit, which is
Oh,
good.
totally. I love that you said that. It even has that kind of canvas texture to the front
Yes,
of it. Just feels like an adventure. Like,
it does.
yeah, let's take this out. Let's get this thing a little beat up.
Yep, I
Let's
love
pack
that.
it with memories and adventure.
I love that. So, okay, so what you talk about like a wonder spotting lens, like putting that on
Mhm.
with your kids. What is the significance of wonder and how do you foster a wonder spotting lens with your kids?
Sure. So the significance of wonder, I think, is so much bigger than we initially think. When we hear that word wonder, it feels a little bit whimsical, a little bit
Mhm.
fairy tale like, and we may categorize that, therefore, as something maybe trivial, but it's not. It is so important. Wonder is this gift from God that I think has been created to awaken our hearts to the significance of everything around us, to the miracle of everything around us, which in turn is used as, I don't want to say weapon because that sounds like a mean word, maybe armor against the other things that come
Yeah.
at us in the world, disillusionment or hopelessness, or just the things that pile on anxiety, all these things that as kids grow older and even enter into adulthood, we grapple with these things and we have to learn, how do we process the difficult news of the world and what's our role in that? How do we respond to that? Do we respond to that in despair? Or do we respond to that going, yes, this is hard, but there's still so much good. And I
Mhm.
was placed here for such a time as this. There's something I can do in my world, in my sphere. And so the wonder spotting lens is basically the worldview that everything's amazing if you look
Mhm.
closely enough. Anything can be fascinating. And we see that through the eyes of our kids. You can get a blade of grass and,
Yeah.
like you said, hand them a magnifying glass. And suddenly it's not just a blade of grass. They're noticing the shape of it. You can whistle with it. You can build things with it. There's bugs who make their entire homes there. And it starts to blow your mind. And I know that that sounds a little melodramatic, but it's true.
No.
When you think of what it takes to make a blade of grass grow, it takes starlight from a sun 93 million miles away, constantly coming. It takes soil, it takes water, which, when you think of the water cycle, and as our kids begin to learn what the water cycle is, you can bring so much of the story of that in.
Yeah.
And everything around us, if you look outside right now and you see something green growing, probably it's been watered. Then you think of the water cycle. That water may have traveled here from all the way across the world. At some point, it could have been part of a lake in Italy and evaporated up into the clouds and rained down here and evaporated again and traveled there. And since the beginning of time, since Genesis.
Yeah.
So when you look at the story behind things, you realize everything's mind blowing. And when you look at the world that way, you start to have this foundation to stand on, that anything is possible, because a God who can create something like that can do anything. He can see me through what I'm facing. He can give us hope. He can give us strength to help make the world a better place.
Yeah.
So bringing all of that back to your question of what is the wonder spotting tool? It's amplifying or magnifying whatever's in front of us, stopping, taking time to look closely, to see the story behind it, and to be amazed. And what that does for us is it infuses us with hope. It infuses us with joy and awe, and it makes us strong, and it makes our kids strong. So that's the wonder spotting tool.
I love that. And I think it just, the more you understand nature, you start to really understand the vastness and the greatness of God. I mean, there's just nothing like, like you were just explaining, like the water cycle and how that rain could be falling from a lake that was in Italy. It's like,
Right. It's
man,
mind blowing.
you don't think about those things. And
No.
that could be turned into a whole homeschooling mamas. You know where your brain is
Totally.
going.
Yes.
I mean, a
I mean,
rainy day isn't just a rainy day anymore. There's
exactly.
so
That's
many
exactly
things.
it.
Yep.
We can just end the podcast right now because you
Yep.
can. I mean, we're not going to, but you
No.
encapsulated it right. A rainy day is not just a rainy day. A tree is not just a tree. And it fills us with this energy, this just excitement.
Yeah.
And sometimes it feels really childlike.
Yeah.
And I think that's how it was intended to be for all of us. We lose that over time and we get to
Yep.
reawaken to it. And that's a gift.
Well, and the Bible does say that we need to approach, that we approach God like a child, that the faith of a child. And he just constantly is bringing us back to, remember when you were a kid and you weren't so
Yeah.
like damaged?
Right.
And you
Exactly.
could look at things and just be in awe of it. You could spend a whole day laying on your stomach in the grass and watching an ant do what it's
Yeah.
doing. And you have that actually in the book. And you
Yep,
also
that's
have
true.
spiders, which I have a problem with, but I get it. They are cool. I just don't want to be the one observing them. I might
Oh,
skip
I get
that.
it. Nope, I respect it. That's the great thing. You get to pick and choose what you do in this book.
Exactly. Exactly. So, okay, so you have a lot of activities in here. Do you have a favorite?
Oh my goodness. That's hard. That's hard to.
I can tell you my favorite. You want to know mine?
Yeah, and then I'll tell you one that pops
Okay.
into my head after
Okay.
that. Go ahead. Yeah.
One that has to do with like leaves, and you go out and you grab leaves and grass and things like that, and you put it on this watercolor paper, and then you cover it with paper towels and you pound it with rocks to get the color into the watercolor paper. And
Yeah.
watercolor paper, you say, because it absorbs the color better. And
Right.
regular paper, it won't be as good. And I was thinking about that, and I thought that would be so cool to do in the spring, in the
Mm-hmm.
summer, and then in Minnesota in the fall, and we could get the same leaves but get like the red maples and the oranges and the
Oh, I
yellow,
love that.
and just make, like
Yes.
you were saying, you can make wrapping paper with it. I was thinking you could make, use that for cards or make pictures to hang on walls and just to have like
Yeah.
artwork that the kids made. I mean, flowers and things like, and my mind started going,
I
and
love that.
yeah, I thought that
That
that would be just such a
excites
fun
me.
thing. Yeah.
Because what I love what you did there is you took the idea that was written on the page, and the ideas, the activities, they're only a
Yeah.
paragraph or so long.
They're
They're
not
very,
big. Yeah.
but the idea is then you, as I saw you just do, you take it and you run with it, you make it your own. And so suddenly you're bringing into it. What if you did this with the same leaves every season? And there's a whole other component then. The kids can observe, how does the tree change throughout the seasons? What
Yeah.
makes it do that? And the book talks a little bit about why do the colors change and
Yeah.
chlorophyll and all that. It's fascinating. I love that everyone can bring their own. You can take this little grain of an idea and build your own entire experience on it based on your interests and where you see it going.
Yeah.
And that is so exciting to me.
I loved that one. I'm going to do that with my grandkids. See,
Oh,
that's
that's
why
so
I'm keeping this
great.
book, you guys. I have 6 grandkids to have to like
That's awesome.
entertain, and I want them to love the outdoors. So,
Oh, that's
yeah.
so great. They will. I can tell already. So one idea of an activity that pops into my head is that, let's say you have a set of watercolor paints, and that's one of the things most of us just have on
Yeah.
hand, or you can grab at the dollar store. and you pack it up into your adventure pack or backpack, whatever. If you're out and about, and since we're talking about water and the water cycle, let's say there's a body of water or a creek or even a puddle nearby. And I know this sounds messy, but that's okay. Like, we
Yeah.
can get comfortable with a little mess. And
Yes.
we can also scale that level of mess to be amenable to you. It doesn't have to be super duper messy. It can be very messy, whatever, wherever you
Pack
are on the
changes
scale
of
of
clothes in
messy.
the car. It'll be
Yep.
fine.
Yeah. But if you gather up some water from wherever you are out in nature, or even catch it from the rain, and let kids watercolor paint with that, and then just play with them in discussion of that idea of, where did this water come from? Where could it have been before?
Yeah.
And suddenly, this simple act of watercolor painting, which is already magical to kids, becomes almost fantastical.
Yeah.
You're painting with water that could have been anywhere.
From the
A ship.
Arctic ice caps. So let's paint a picture of the
Exactly.
Arctic ice caps, or
Polar bear could have tread
yes,
on this as it's floating
exactly.
on ice. And that, or you just, all the ideas you could see kids sparking off. Where could this have been? Look at the globe, bring the
Yeah.
globe into it, or an atlas, or a book that has pictures of places all over the world, and see what water you can spot, and just say, now just imagine if what you're painting with was there once upon a time. We don't know. And the mystery of
Yeah.
it can be so enchanting to them. So
I
it's
love
little
that.
things like that that can just elevate something that to us is normal, to kids is magical. Suddenly it's enchanting to all of us
Yeah.
because we're just asking questions.
So good. I mean, you could, okay, so this goes on to my next question, and we can continue this conversation. But
Okay.
how do each of the activities in a pocket full of wonder cater to a wide variety of learners? And I'm thinking of, like, for homeschooling families, we have, like, we have kindergartners, we have sixth graders, we have eighth graders, we have third graders, all in the same family, all doing the same
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
How would this, like, your activity, I can totally see how that would be, totally
Yeah.
great for all ages. But
Yes.
how would it cater to a wide variety of learners in a family?
Great question. So I think we have, as you said, we've got the age scale to look at, and this is intended to be able to be used with a wide variety of ages at the same time,
Yep.
simultaneously. So a family could use it, or a one-room schoolhouse,
Yeah.
which some places still have, could use it.
Yep.
So we've got age scale, but we've also got learning types. There's the hands-on learners and the auditory learners and the visual learners, and the natural world speaks to all of those.
It does.
10 kids could go into a meadow and have 10, different personalities, many different learning styles, and all learn the same core things in their own
Yeah.
catered, individualized way, just because it's nature and they can interact with it in that way. They can hear things if they're auditory, they can see
Mhm.
things, observe things. If they're a writer, budding writer, they can journal about it, or write, narrate what they see.
Mhm.
Of course, you can bring picture books into it that are relevant to it too, and just sit down wherever you are and have story time. And that's great too, auditory. But just for some practical things, I mean, if the book at the beginning talks about kind of building out your adventure kit, so you have a backpack or knapsack, whatever you want to call it, ready to go with a few basic staples that you could pull out and use on a whim, depending on what the weather's doing or how your group is feeling. So you might have your watercolor paints in there and a nature journal for each kid, and just some basics like that. It's really not much, because the second we get complicated, it starts to become intimidating, and we don't want any barriers between us or our kids and the adventure ahead.
Yeah.
So if you look at your kids and their learning types, and you know them best, and that's the beauty of this, you can outfit yourself with things just for them too. Maybe you have a kid they're older, perhaps they're more advanced scientifically or something like that. You could stick a more scientific field guide that's, thicker, that's more like a reference. Bring it in there for them to go spot something and identify it, and then write it down. Tell me what it is. Teach me about it. Teach your younger siblings about it. You do a jigsaw activity where everybody gets to go where you can see them in the 5-minute radius, whatever. Find something cool, discover something about it, whether it's through checking the reference guide, or maybe you have one of those apps where you get to do the leaf identification or bug
Oh, yeah.
identification. Then come back and let's all teach each other what we observed. And if for younger kids, you can scale that question down of just find something you love and come tell us about it. And then we can even travel around together and go see what each person spotted, what each person learned. And suddenly we're engaging, because yes, we're getting to customize the education for each kid, but we're also inviting them to broaden their view by noticing what others notice. I noticed this. but what did this kid notice and why? What did that kid notice and why? We get to be excited by each other's observations. And every step we take like that just amplifies the experience even more for them, taking it beyond just a walk through the woods, which again is already amazing,
Yeah.
to this memory making, education building,
Yeah.
wonder awakening experience. And it's
Yeah.
the same amount of time spent, pretty much, same place, just a few small changes, and everything's miraculous.
I love that. I love that so much. I think that it just really speaks to like just family. I can see camping trips that this becomes like
Mhm.
the thing that you do, and putting down those phones, putting down, those dad's going to go do this, mom's going to go do this, and the kids are going to kind of just wander. And it's like, no,
Right.
we're going to do this as a family together. And there's just not enough of that in the world today. And I think that this really does
It's true.
just
It's
make it just
true.
such a beautiful thing. How have you found that doing these kinds of activities with your kids, how has that affected their relationship with creation and their view of who God is?
It has that has been perhaps the biggest blessing of all, because
Yeah.
we'll be out just in our yard, which is just a yard,
Yeah.
you can be on a porch and this happens, and they'll spot something. My little guys, they'll bring me a flower and they'll want to tell me all about it, and one of them especially just always brings it back to, what does this show us about God?
Mm.
I can't believe God made this, he'll say. Or it's something so beautiful. He'll say that about a bug, like a beetle. It's so beautiful. And I just think that's so true, because it's amazing. And the closer you look, the more amazing it is. And it's such a gift to me to see that this God who created the universe and
Mm.
created us, created all of that for each other, cares so deeply about our kids, and he's pursuing them and he's speaking to them even at these tender young ages. Creation pours forth speech, and it's not just about nature's cool. Nature is cool. There's no argument there at all. But it's deeper than that. It's about, what is he telling them about himself through it? And he's telling them he's good. He's telling them he's mighty. He's telling them he's present. He's there in every season. And when you take it a step farther, he's telling them that about himself for their lives, for their future, so that 10, 15, 20 years from now or beyond, when they probably don't even remember this book, what it looks like, or the pages, and that's fine. They will have those habits in their heart and that view of the world and that faith to come under them in the trials and remind them God is present. He is
Mm.
faithful. He cares. He loves you. He's so good. And that is the biggest gift of all to me, to see that budding thing in the lives of my kids. And when they bring me things to show me that I never would have noticed,
Yeah.
because still I'm walking past these wonders every day and they're not. And so to see that happening and to see them, this wonder kind of growing legs in their own life, it just leaves me speechless and
Oh,
so grateful.
yeah. That's so
Yeah.
good. I think about how Jesus oftentimes when he was talking, he always like consider the lilies of the field or the birds of the air, or he always
Yeah.
brought it back to nature in a lot of ways and just used his creation for us to understand him and who God
Mm-hmm.
is, and the kingdom of God, and these very big spiritual topics. But he used nature to help us to grasp how big and how great God is. And so I think we should do
Absolutely.
the same. I think we should do the same.
I do too. I do too.
Yeah, I'm so grateful that you came on today, Amanda. I really do love this book. And I mean
I'm so
you know,
glad.
I'm just so grateful, and I'm looking forward to, I'm actually going to do the watercolor leaf thing with my but I'm babysitting my 3-year-old
Amazing.
grandson on Friday, and I'm actually going to do this with him.
Oh,
I'm like, we're going
good.
to do this.
I'm so excited. Send
He's
me a
going to love
picture
it.
if you get a chance. I'd
I'm
love to
going
see them.
to. I will. I
Good.
will.
Well, good.
Yeah, and he loves being outdoors. He's very observant, and he's very, yeah, and so I'm looking
I
forward to
love
it.
that.
And but thank you so much for being a part of our podcast today and sharing a little bit about
Absolutely.
who you
Thank you for
are,
having
and
me.
yeah, and why this is such an important thing for you. And I'm going to put links to everything, you guys, in the description of this podcast. As always, I can't enough say to you that this is one book you guys should definitely own. It's just such a, it'll just take you to a whole different level in your outdoor time with your kids. It'll be more intentional. And that's what we really want. That's something we've been talking a lot about this summer, I think, is intentionality. And so we really want to make sure that we're doing things with intention. And so thank you so much. I appreciate it. And for all my listeners, thank you
Oh,
guys for
thank
being a
you.
part of our podcast today. Thank you for all your support. If you guys like this, go ahead and like, share, and subscribe. I have to do that. Feels really weird, but I do it. And just,
It's worth. This is good content. I'm
yeah,
subscribing.
I think so. I think it is. I learn a lot every day of my life. It's crazy. But I'm just super excited. So thank you, Amanda. I would love to talk to you about your historical fiction books. I love that.
Oh
So
yeah, anytime.
we'll spend a time to do that too. So thank you
That'd be
guys
so
for
fun.
joining us today. I hope you have a wonderful day. Get outside, rain,
Mhm.
shine, winter, doesn't matter. Get outside, get those kids outside, get them off the screens, out of the house, get them understanding who God is through creation. And if you can, grab this book, and then you can, go ahead and have a really great resource to take you there so it doesn't feel like you have to do all the work. So thank you so much. And we'll talk to you later.